It'll take a minute. Hello. I don't know if we're live yet. Are we live? I don't know if anybody can see us. Hang on. Let me just check because this is my first time doing this business. And I don't know. So let's see. Here we go. Oh, we're live. Okay. Hey, everyone. Sorry, y'all. Well, welcome to live Dolo Digs. Today, we have the wonderful, the beautiful Lady Peacock. Yay, everybody. Yay. Y'all are excited to see her, just like I'm excited to see her every time I go in the shop. So, let me just say that y'all can ask questions. And if you have questions, please type them in large letters so I can see them because I'm blind. And she doesn't have she doesn't have YouTube up, so she can't see your questions. Only I can at the moment. So, all right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in textiles?
Right. Well, I'm actually a textiles specialist. I'm an art teacher as well. And I've been doing art and design for many years now. It's something I've done for a long, long time. My specialism is printed textiles, and a lot of it's my love of vintage has come from that. Just exploring and researching all the different types of patterns from the past. So a lot of it is to do with surface pattern. I love a really good pattern. I'm just in total awe of repeat designs, florals, tea dresses. That's kind of where it's come from as well. It's developed from there.
So, how long have you been reselling vintage?
Well, it kind of all started a few years ago. I was teaching and I wanted to do something a little bit more at the weekend, and I actually started a tea room. So I was baking, and I was actually doing events as well. So we were having like evenings with singers coming in, and it started with just a simple rail in one of the rooms. Then the rail became a shelf, then the shelf became two, and it went from there. I eventually ended up with making just bits and pieces in a little studio and renovating bits of fabrics, to the point where it went into a shed. The shed became a shipping container, and the shipping container became nearly two shipping containers, and then it became a shop, and that was it. I had so many people are saying to me, please can we come to you, container. I was like, well, there's no electricity, I can't make a cup of tea. So that was it. That was where Lady Peacock HQ was born, was in a shipping container. And I was going out to events and doing lots of events at vintage fairs. And I love attending them, and I love selling at them. And even more, I love finding treasures, and I have to feel like I'm saving them more than anything else.
So, this shipping container, do you still have it?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to actually fit everything in it anymore, actually. So, but no, I've actually now got a store that people don't kind of see the other bits and pieces that I save, and it's a real elaborate save. There's stuff in there even I've forgotten about. So if anybody asks me what I've got, I'm like, I'll have to go and have a look for you. I've got a really good search for that. But yeah, I've got all sorts of stuff. Everything from not just clothing, just things I've collected over the years, oddities, bits and pieces, some pieces of gorgeous fabrics that I can't throw away. I just feel the need to kind of look after them, be almost a caretaker of these pieces.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is a good term, a caretaker, because at the end of the day, we're all caretakers until we either pass it along to someone else, or God forbid we die, someone else gets it. But that's
I would hate anybody else. I would hate for somebody to actually be the caretaker of my collection, because they've got a right job in their hands. So I feel very sorry for them.
So I do have a comment / question from Miss Pamela Blanchard. She wants to know, does Lady Peacock have her own collection stored somewhere where she could share it on video with us?
Oh, yes, I do have a personal collection as well. I do have a lot of things at home and things I've collected over the years. I've also got, like I said before, I've got some strange.
So, okay, so why don't you tell everybody Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
No, yeah.
Tell everybody what you collect.
I'm a hat collector. I love a few hats myself. I make hats as well, re-steam them. So I've got a really lovely collection of hats, which I've got everything from 1920s up until about 1960s. I collect corsages. I love vintage flowers. But my best thing is I love tea dresses. I wear them every day for my teaching job. I wear bright colours every day. So yeah, I have a really lovely collection of pretty things.
Oh, I like the hat collection. We're going to have to, I mean, not that I want to invade your house, however, or yours, you said you don't have the container anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So we might, I mean, not that, like I said, not that I want to invade your personal space, but you know, people want to see your collection.
But
So,
also our rubbish.
you have to, or you could just film it and send me the video and I can put it on.
Well, I'll let you in. I'll let you into my little sort of hide hole at some point because it's full to the brim. It needs a tidy, but yeah, it really is full.
Well, I'll manage. I'll sign a waiver so I don't, if I fall or whatever, I won't sue you. So, so we got some people coming in the chat, and we've got Pat Doodles, Julie from AJ's Retro Vintage. We got 50 Shutterbug, Jessica, who we all know, Beth from Carolina, Princess Sweet Treats and Pretties, Tammy Renee Walker, Nancy Smith. We had Side Street Market Christine earlier. So these are just maybe a proper afternoon tea and then a show, then show some of her collections.
That sounds like a plan. Definitely.
So yes,
I'll even bake a cake.
What time you want me to come? If you're gonna bake a cake, I'm gonna be there.
We'll have a proper afternoon tea. I'll bring some scones and the clotted cream and jam, and we'll do an afternoon tea and go through the collection. That sounds like a really good plan.
I love it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So I remember your first shop, which was in the alleyway. Do you remember?
Yes, yeah.
Wasn't that your first shop?
Yeah, well, that was my first, Lady Peacock. It was my very first sort of little baby, and then it became a bit too small, so I had to upgrade.
Right. Yeah, I did. It was, yeah. So I have a question. Does Lady Peacock still teach art, and at what grade level?
Yes, I still teach art. I'm an art and design teacher, and it's at secondary. So I teach from 11-year-old up to about 18, 19-year-old as well. And I do that full time in a secondary school and academy. That's over in Nottingham.
What, Nottingham?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, school. So it's at school in Nottingham.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that must be, I mean, how is it to, I mean, they must love you. If you were my teacher when I was between 11 and 18, I would have died. I would have been like so happy.
It's great. The school's really supportive. I kind of, well, the dress sense came in bit by bit. I started with just a little bit of red hair and a flower. And the flower went from here up to here, up to here. And then eventually it became the whole outfit. And every day I get the neighbours on the street before I get in my car saying, what have you got on today? And then I go to school and it's either, oh, miss, I love your hair, or I love the flowers, or, oh, and the dress. And yeah, it's become part of my look now. I can't go shopping anywhere without being dressed up. I have to, you know, have full makeup, full hair. People won't recognise me otherwise. I'll go shopping and I get stared at quite a lot, and I'm used to it.
Well, I mean, every time I see you, you look amazing, and you always do. So the next thing, Miss Pamela Blanchard again said, you should never have told us we could ask questions. You know my nosy butt will be asking everything but her bra size. That's up to you if you want to share that.
I'm good. Any questions? Yep, go for it.
So she wants to know, is there any flea markets near where you live? Do you find vintage at the flea markets? Where do you find most vintage items now?
Okay. I have for my 40s and 50s, I have a really good stockist. It's an ex-trader who I
Okay.
get lots of pieces from. So if it's very specialist, and she's shopped all over the world, she's been over to America, got lots of pieces from America.
Mm.
She's also to Europe, some lovely pieces from Paris. So a lot of the vintage, the sort of earlier 40s and 50s has come from that trader. The pieces I get now, earlier, sometimes I just come across them. I got a really lovely 1930s dress that looked like a 70s dress.
Ooh.
And I was speaking to the lady who got it from, and she told me all about it, the history of it, and the mum, I think it was a mum's mum who actually had this. And again, I've still got that piece, and it's tiny. It's got the smallest waist of, you couldn't put your leg in it really, but it's beautiful. I also go to a lot of people's houses and do what we call a wardrobe clearance. So I will get people who ask me to come round, and it's just amazing to hear the stories. I'm not one to go in and just sort of go for the item and come back. I can be there for hours, and I will just have a chat with them and find out, the person they belonged to, look at the pictures, if it was a wedding they were wearing the piece at, or if it was a special occasion. And it's just to hear the social history of people and the connection with the items that that you're then taking from them is phenomenal. I love that part of it. That is my favorite. I love the seeking of those treasures and the stories that goes behind it. I do get as well some of the local sort of charity shops sometimes, kind of a good look through. I love a good charity shop bargain. So yeah, having a good rummage through. Um, I do go to the Thursday market as well, which is really good for some and very cheap, good sort of pieces. And again, if you know what you're looking for, you can get some crackers.
So I know that's a great thing about vintage is that the history that goes with it. It's one thing to go, I like this because it's old or it's unique, but it's also who had it before, who, you know, were the pictures of people wearing it or in their house or, that kind of history is so interesting. And it's very fortunate, like with this dress you got, that you knew all the history
Yeah.
and that you got to see the pictures of her wearing it. And I think that's a lot of what what vintage kind of is. I mean, it's fine for the aesthetic of it, but also knowing the history of it.
Yeah, it is. It's really important, I think, to the people as well that you get those items from, because they're trusting you with a part of their heritage, and they as well feel that you will take care of it and you understand that it's not something to throw away. It's not something that will end up at the tip. It's
Right.
something that you're going to look after. You will take care. You will repair it, and you'll find a new home. And I think that's the most important as well, that you find the right person for the right piece, just to go on to make more history and more stories for people in their life.
That's exactly. So I have a question for you from Daniel, who is tacky as me. What is Miss Lady Peacock's favorite kind of? Oh no, sorry, that's another. Is your house vintage? And if so, what decade do you decorate in?
Well, it's quite interesting because I'm sat in the kitchen at the moment, and it is actually a 1980s house, so it's nothing flash, it's not vintage in the house, but I've tried to kind of behind me. We stayed in a gypsy caravan for a weekend, and I just loved the idea and came back and painted the cupboards to match. They're still not quite finished, but I've got little pieces here and there around the house, but unfortunately we don't live in a period property, so it just has tiny bits.
I don't know if by Etsy standards, 80s is vintage, so you're good.
That's true, yeah, up to 1989. So technically, I do live in a vintage house,
Yeah,
but it still has some fixtures and fittings from the 80s, unfortunately.
yeah,
And
that's pretty
I've
cool.
grown up at that era, so
So, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, about the 80s in a minute. So, Carolina Princess, Sweet Treats and Pretties, Beth would like to know what is Miss Lady Peacock's favorite kind of art to teach?
oh gosh, there's a few. I mean, if I'm teaching art history, I love the Art Deco period. I'm absolutely love Art Deco, arts and crafts, Art Nouveau. That is one of my favourite sort of periods to look at. And again, when I'm actually seeking pieces out, I will kind of drawn to it, like a magpie to those. But anything up to, even at the moment, we're doing Mexican Day of the Dead. So we're looking at Frida Kahlo.
My
I
favorite,
love Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo,
Um,
girl.
oh,
Yes.
it's just one of my sort of favorite ones to teach. And again, just to show to students that, you know, death and the whole that side of things actually can be joyful and, you know, celebrating. So it's just, I do love doing it. So many different eras really, but yeah, I would say early century. That's my
Yeah.
favorite.
Well, I mean, also Frida Kahlo is such, you know, she was so colorful, and her art just depicted her life, you know, regardless if it was good or bad. She, you know, she really reflected upon. Did you ever go to the exhibit London in 2018?
No, I've not actually been to an exhibit, unfortunately, but I would love to. There's an exhibit, I think, at the V&A as well. They had the costumes or her clothing in the actual exhibit, which I would love to see. It's so eclectic and reflective of, you know, sort of a heritage.
Right. I went to the one at the V&A, and that was amazing. I mean, it had like her personal effects, like her lipstick and her girl
Oh,
and her compact. And I know I was
oh.
dying. That was so good. So if you, here's a question from Christy Allen. Thank you, Christy. If you could travel in time and place, where and when would you go?
Oh, that's really difficult. I'd have to, because there's so many I'd love to. I'd have to do a whistle stop tour. Start at the 20s, move my way up to the 30s. You know, be in naughty 20s, and then I would like to go to the 40s. There's a lot of people would say, why would you want to go back then? But just to see everything that has been the foundations of the sort of vintage era, the typical vintage era, but also as well the difficulties in austerity and actually looking at how people managed to make do amend and survive going through things. And I love sort of repairing things, and I love to be able to recycle. And I would love to just be sat and listen to those people I'd love to be the fly on the wall and listen to those stories there.
Yeah, to see
But
how.
then after that, straight to the 50s. I love the 50s. Just a time when people are starting to enjoy life again, even though rationing was still around in the 50s, just to be able to see when the young generation, you know, started to live a freer life and pick up bits and pieces and trying to sort of move forward into the future.
For sure. I have another question. Can you explain this is from Beth. Can you explain for us American Southerners what a tea dress is? Now I can't believe she don't know what a tea dress is. Even I know what a tea dress is. I'm from Texas.
Okay, so a tea dress, so a floral piece. I mean, I'm wearing a more 50s today, so which is sort of fitted at the waist and then flares out at the hip. The tea dress is more sort of informal, formal. So an afternoon, you would actually be dressed appropriately, so you wouldn't be showing legs or anything. You would actually be covered up to maybe just below the knee or around about the calf length. Generally buttoned down at the front, and you do get a lot of shirt dresses now that resemble the tea dress, but the tea dress would button at the front, nice little collar, little cardigan, little corsage, and you would that is more sort of afternoon sort of patterned dress. So if you sat around with people having tea and cake, that's how you would be dressed. Whereas in the evening, obviously, it's a little bit more flashy, maybe showing a little bit more leg or a little bit more ankle and a little bit more shoulder. So yeah, tea dresses, pretty patterns. So if you think Liberty patterns, something like that, that was actually nice little floral ditzy.
Yeah, sorry. She's an attention seeker. So Julie asked, how many times a year do you go to Paris flea markets? Do you ever go to the Paris flea markets?
No, I'd love to. There's a friend of mine who's another vintage trader, and he goes to the Briganti markets in October time. And because I'm teaching, I can't go. And it is literally take your car, get on the ferry, and fill your car full of all the goodies, and bring all those fantastic pieces back. But unfortunately, yeah, maybe when I actually retire from teaching, be my time to go over, and I'll be taking the van with me.
So I want to say hi to a few more people here. I've got Laura from Vintage Thrifted Treasures. Thank you. I saw Jamie, my bestie, Jamie, in the chat. Christy Tippy Winks Vintage is here. And So I just want to say hi to them real quick. Okay, so here is a good question from Pamela Blanchard. Is there anything or any item you regret that you regret that you didn't buy?
All the time.
Oh,
There's so many pieces, and it is the typical thing. The item that you were thinking about today and you'll go back to tomorrow will be bought by the person the day before, who will also be thinking that they'll go. So I go now where I think my worst experience, I was at Twinwood Festival. There was a beautiful hat. It was amazing, and I couldn't justify spending the amount of money. And looking back at it now, it wasn't actually that expensive. It was 40, £50. But I was umming and ahhing and shouldn't I? And then I went back and I asked the trader and said, you know, is this hat? She went, it's gone. That's it. And that really upset me. So I don't really think about it too much now. If I want it, and my heart says, and my head says, I have to go for it. There's very few occasions now where I've gone back and something's still been there. So just get it. You'll never see it again. It'll be a unique piece. There won't be another one just like it. So you've just got to get it at the time it's meant to be.
yes. Buy the piece, y'all. Because I've had the FOMO, or the fear of missing out of buying. Should be, you know, I've had it, and I've gone back and I'm like, man. And you think at the time you think, well, I don't want to pay £5 for it. And then you go back and you're like, it's gone, because that the next day you willing to spend £5 and it's gone forever. You don't know who's got it, you don't know what they're doing with it. It's just it's hard to pass up.
I've had other pieces as well that I've ended up buying and not been sure about. I've got home, done a bit of research, and I've bought it for £1 or £2, and then done the research and gone, oh my gosh, this is worth £150. So sometimes even those little things that you think, I don't know, it'll talk to you. And I think that's the thing. Those pieces sometimes tell you something, and you go, I'm going to take a risk on this one. And if not, why? You've got a bargain for a couple of pounds and it's pretty, so you know, do it anyway. But yeah, I think sometimes
if your gut tells you, go with it. Just don't question it. Just sorry. If you have that feeling and you think, should I spend the £5 on it? Spend it, because you're gonna wish you had. I'm just telling you. So I had another question from Julie, AJ's Retro and Vintage. Miss Peacock, I'm a fan of the mudlarking channels. Have you ever mudlarked the Thames or the Thames?
The mudlarking? Don't think I'm familiar with that. Can you tell me a bit more information?
Okay, so mudlarking is what they do is, and I've seen one called Northern Mudlarkers. So they must be up this way somewhere, or the Peak District. They'll go on the riverbeds, like not riverbeds, but the edge of the rivers where water comes in and it goes back out, and they'll dig through the mud and find little bits like coins or glass, or little thing, and they'll make things with these things that they find.
Yeah. Well, I tend to, similar to that beach combing, one year, again, the year we went and stayed in the Gypsy Caravan, we went down looking for sea glass on the coast there at Robin Hood's Bay, and it's the items you find when the tide has gone out is phenomenal. But generally, I'd love to go on a bit of an archaeological kind of dig anyway. That's something I would love to do, because you never know what you're going to find, and that chase, it's that little treasure.
The Northern Mudlarkers, if you look them up on YouTube, the Northern Mudlarkers, they find little bits of ceramic, little bits of, or bottles, like the old cobalt blue bottles they'll find, and a lot of the broken glass they'll fuse the glass into other things.
Yeah.
Or like with a torch, they use the torch to make like you'd make with beads. They do that.
Well, that's introduced something to me I've not done before. So I'm gonna, I'll look at that. Actually, that sounds really interesting.
I know. I would love to go. Like you said, I've gone to like Montrose and all that up in Scotland, and have found some really nice glass there, like sea glass, and but I haven't found like really big things, like or complete things, I haven't found. Here's someone wants to know if you watch YouTube and what channels do you watch? Well, mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yours, of course. Yes, definitely. YouTube, I tend to use it for looking at lots of fashion, vintage fashion. I'm a bit of a one for that, actually. Just looking at lots of YouTube images, looking at patterns as well. But I also use YouTube a lot for research for my job as a teacher. So majority of the time I will be looking up artists and designers. So recently we've been looking at architecture. So looking at Art Deco and Bauhaus and Gothic architecture. So that's probably what I'm doing at the moment.
Well, that's yeah. I like watching anything vintage resellers, vintage vintage hauls, kind of like what I do. I like to watch a lot of other people's. That's what I do. So someone just asked, do I know what did it say? Oh, Plokey P. Do you know what the sport curling is? Yes, I do. It is when you throw. It's like a big round wooden thing, and they use a stick.
The curling is I think they like it's from Ireland. I believe. I think so.
They do it in Scotland as well.
Yeah, curling is it's almost like I think lacrosse or something like that. It's very similar. Nice. Where you're using a stick. Yeah. So I think it's a stick and a puck. I could be wrong. So, oh no, my husband's just said that's hurling.
Oh.
Nice. There we go.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
He's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you very much.
So here was what I was going to ask you. What I wanted to ask you. We kind of discussed this when I saw you last time, and we were talking. Okay, here's a question. What do you think? Because a lot of the people here are resellers. Okay.
Yeah.
Not everyone. Some of them just like vintage. Some of them, but some people in chat are resellers. So what would, based on, I mean, obviously we're in a different country and we're in the UK. So there's a UK people, listen up. What do you think we should be looking for when sourcing? Like, what are some of the, things that you think are collectible or that would not necessarily bring money, but bring money. You know what I mean? Like, what would you, if you were outsourcing? Because I know you do a lot of clothing and jewelry.
Yeah.
And but you started getting the homeware. So what things would you recommend?
I've gone through trends really of what people are into at the time, or even like say something that you find pretty. I'm not really into retro and kind of looking at 70s or 60s ceramics and things like that. I think 70s now is starting to be quite collectible, but it's not my cup of tea. Lots of browns and orange patterns is not my thing. So I first started out with teacups and teapots. That was my biggest collection. Which I've recently kind of sold on to another collector. I was massively into Sadler, the box teapots, which are like candy colours, sugared almond colours. That was just my favourite at one point. I mean, I've moved on from that now. I tend to now look at, I've found some cracking jewellery just from little bits and pieces, just testing it on your skin, on your teeth, holding it in your hand for this temperature, actually having all those little tricks. So when you if you are actually picking up something and it feels heavy, test it. Is it glass? Is it gems? Is it an early plastic even? And I'd say the one thing, if you can get your hands on it at the moment, speaking of plastic, early plastic, is the Plastiflex bag. If you can get hold of one of those, there's not many out there now. They're getting harder to get hold of. So if you do come across a Plastiflex or a telephone cord bag, those yeah, they are. I've had a few in my collection and now I cannot get them for love nor money. And everybody wants them at the moment. So they've really come round.
Yeah, they are hot. The little telephone bags, the little telephone cord bags. Those are good.
Yep.
So
if you can spot them and you know what it looks like and what you're looking for, yeah, if you can get your hands on one of those under 30-40 pounds, you'd be very lucky.
Oh, there's let me just say hi to Maria, California Thrifter. Hey girl, I hope you're doing well. I have a question from Julie, AJ's Retro and Vintage. What are Lady Peacock's top 3 English fine china porcelain makers?
Oh,
Does
right.
does Worcester make her top 3?
Okay. There was a little time when Royal Albert is, and it still is, a really collectible piece. It's held its money. It's held its sort of its status. So if you can get a really lovely tea set with Royal Albert, there's I think it's called Moss Rose. It's a really beautiful piece. If you can get your hands on one of those, it's worth keeping. It can go for £120 for a set. The teacups alone can go for £10 to £15 depending on the actual design. So I'd say Royal Albert is one of the top ones up there. That is most often bought, purchased and sent abroad. I know Singapore, there's a lot of people in Singapore that collect that and find that, you know, the bee's knees. After that, I'd say the egg coddler. If you can actually get the little egg coddlers, again, became very popular when afternoon teas, and a lot of people collected the Worcester pots. So those, and if anyone doesn't know what a coddler is, I'll tell you more about that shortly. But it's basically boiling an egg in. You put it in a pan and you boil it, but it's in these beautiful little pots. And Shelley.
It has a little metal top, doesn't it? Like it's like a
so it's ceramic, and it'll have patterns on the side, and again you can get lots of different versions of it, and then it's got a little metal lid. But you can put things like an egg and some bits of cheese in there, and lots of ham or pepper. Pop it in a pan, heat it up, and you can just eat it. Posh eggs, basically.
Posh eggs. Like a posh egg.
And I'd say Shelley as well, if you can get your hands on a little bit of Shelley china. And there's some nice pieces out there, and they're always collectible. There's always people out there that are collectors of Shelley.
Yeah, I bought a Shelley planter the other day.
Oh, tell me more.
I know. It's this really pretty blue color. And I read a lot about Shelley, kind of did a lot of research on it. Oh, thank you, Maria, for stopping by. So the next one is, what is Miss Lady Peacock's favorite sweet treat? That's from Beth.
Oh, I've got loads. I'm back on Slimming World now, so I've got to be very careful. I love good cheesecake, but I love afternoon tea. If a good carrot cake, nice cheese frosting, that's a winner. But I think you can't beat a really good cup of tea and a scone with jam and cream. But I like it with blackberry jam. I'm not really into the sort of strawberries or raspberry. Well, I love raspberry, but I love it. It's so bitter, and it just really cuts through that sweetness with your scone. So yeah, that would be my go-to if I could still have the old treat.
Julie wants to see my Shelley planter. Girl, I don't even know where it's one of these bags here that I've done the haul on it, but I haven't listed it yet. If I find it, I'll take a picture of it and send you an Instagram, Julie. Okay. So Miss Pamela Blanchard was asked or said, if we found a plastic cord purse, what would be the most to pay for one? Now remember, they in dollars.
Oh, in dollars. I'm not really sure what the exchange rate, so you'd have to sort of tell me.
Say in pounds.
In pounds, you could spend up to 120, 140 pound on a really big cord bag. You can get them as cheap as around about 60 pounds. But I wouldn't. Yeah, you can get them for the small size ones, little oval shaped ones. But if you go for the bigger size ones, then yeah, you can get some. Yeah, I wouldn't pay any more than just over £100. My sort of go-to region for a Plastiflex or a be around about 70 to 80. That's my. That would be.
I mean, but that's not for resale. You'd have to get it much cheaper to resell it.
No, you'd have to get it a lot cheaper. The recent ones I've sold is within the region of 70 to 80, because I try and. but you can pay a lot more depending on the condition of it.
Right. So if you need to know that conversion, ask Jessica Thrifty Shutterbuck. She can do the conversion for you. She's probably like, dang it. Yeah. So now what I want to talk about is what you think is up and coming. Like, just, I mean, obviously we're in a different country from some of these people, but here, what is the thing that you're like, this is the next big thing, y'all pay attention?
Unbelievable at the moment, and this is just such a strange thing, is especially with the younger generation, is the box blazer. I don't know if people know what the box blazer is, but it's an 80s jacket. It literally is padded shoulders, nice and square. I'm really struggling to get hold of them. At one point they came in and people didn't want them, and for some reason they've come back around. I don't know if it's been a program or a film or something that's actually inspired it, but that is kind of the next thing. Just like previous to that was the Peaky Blinders, the whole cap, waistcoat, and pocket watch. There just seem to be these kind of trends in between, and I think a lot of the time it is sort of spurned through either films or photography or just general sort of what's on the television at the moment. But yeah, the box blazer seems
fashion.
to be. Yeah, it does seem to be. We go around it. It's in cycles. So obviously, when you look at 70s fashion, look back into the 30s, 80s, look back in the 40s, and they do, those eras just keep coming back round and round and bring with it the next thing. So for me, I'm seeing that at the moment. That's what here I'm kind of spotting.
Yes, Julie, like Grace Jones style. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another question: what are Lady Peacock's favorite American jewelry makers to collect?
American jewelry. I've not really got a specific jewelry maker. Not American as such. I don't know if it's American. Haskell. I don't know if you've heard of Haskell
I don't know
jewelry.
if that's American either. I've heard.
I don't know. It's American. But I mean, I've recently done a bit of research into looking at, because again, it's florals and it's just beautiful. So that's really one of the designers that is my favorite at the moment. American, I'm not really sure about too much. But I'd say if you can find those pieces, then they're worth getting. I've just recently come across Empire, right? Okay, there is one as actually a designer called Hollywood.
Hollywood,
and
yes, Hollywood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they got good stuff.
Again, I've found a really beautiful piece, and it was just by accident. It's a very big piece, and it's like a leaf pattern brooch.
Oh.
And I just loved it, and I bought it with some other bits of cheap costume jewelry, and I could see the stamp on it, so I got my eyeglass out, had a look. I'm like, oh, Hollywood, okay, I'll have a look. I'll look into that, see what that is, and started researching. And apparently, it was the designer that used to do all the pieces for the Hollywood crowds, for all these film stars. And I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe that I'd actually found this gem, this amazing piece.
That's amazing. Oh.
It was just, I couldn't believe that I'd actually found it. And there's two other little bits of pieces in there as well of the designers. But sometimes it's worth that feeling. Just get it.
So she actually brought for y'all a few bits of show and tell. Y'all are going to, when she shows you this, y'all gonna run out and get one. So what don't you? She showed me and I was like, it's a who? It's a what? What does it do?
Yeah.
Please show everybody what you got. Some of your show and tell.
So, well, I brought a show and tell. I've been collecting little oddities, a lot to do with Victorian onwards, because the Victorians themselves seem to have these very, very strange things. But I've got some pieces here. Some are Victorian, some are earlier, some are later. I'll start with, I've got a really lovely sort of late 30s, 40s piece, which is this. It's a little pop, and it's got this, it's plastic, but it looks, well, it's early plastic celluloid, and it looks like it's tortoiseshell, and it's got a hole in it. So this, in my collection, I'll see if I can Yes, I have to remember to go the other way. Is a little pot with a hole in. You take the lid off. And this is for containing hair. So you would collect your own hair out of your hairbrush or your comb. You would actually take it out and pop it in. And then as it got full, you would take the hair out. You would actually then, you could roll it up, make like a sausage of it, cover it in a hairnet, and use it for Gibson rolls or for doing your victory rolls or your side rolls or your suicide roll. You'd actually then use it as an extra piece or like a Gibson roll. You could actually stuff it in, pin it in, and that way you add your own hair colour rather than having the pieces that we have now, like a foam. Your piece would match and people wouldn't know that actually that is your own human dirty hair. So that's one thing.
Mean, it's like I said, it's like the vintage bump it. Get your own hair. I mean, that was and I know I've seen hair receivers, and I just didn't know why. I wasn't sure why people collected their own hair. Then she started telling me, and I was like, "Oh, you're making your own weave? Okay, cool." You know.
Well, my next item is along the same sort of theme. It's Victorian pieces. Okay, I'm just need to make sure that I get this up to the camera. So we've got this little brooch. Okay, and this little brooch has human hair inside it, and on the back is a picture of the person it used to belong to. Okay, so if I just turn that over and show you. So this was a Mori memento. So you would actually wear this, and it's the hair of a deceased person. So the person who passed away, again, strange Victorian, it's very weird. So you'd actually collect the hair, and the hair would then go into the brooch, and you would wear that as a piece of memorial piece, just to remember the person who has passed away by wearing their hair. And I have a couple of those pieces. I've got another one here, which has also got some hair in and a little description on the back. So they're pretty. So if you do come across those, they are worth collecting because they're just very unusual.
I mean, we say that nowadays, though, you know, like you're like, well, I wouldn't wear some, you know, some dead person or, you know, someone's part, you know, parts of dead. They can make jewelry out of the ashes of your deceased. So that's no different than what those people, than what the Victorians did.
So if anything, they were trendsetters, those Victorians. So, but yeah, I mean, again, going on with hair a little bit. I'm not obsessed with hair. I've got another object here to show you that's got nothing to do with hair. But this is okay. When I first found this piece, it's horsehair, and it's a kilt pin. It's got a little beetle on the top here. So this is actually a pin that you would put in your kilt, and it would keep you from showing your bits and pieces, obviously if you're a gentleman, and that would actually make sure that if there was a gust of wind, it wouldn't blow open and show your undercarriage. So there you go. That's another hair piece.
Yeah, we don't want their hoo-ha hanging out, honey. We don't care how good looking they are on a kilt. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, just to finish it off, this is another not so nice thing. Okay, so it's your favorite. You love this. Oh, this is just it's the best. I've saved the best to last. So this it was a nut casing. And some of these you will find with quite big holes. They're used as pomanders, but also the smaller versions were used in the Victorian period. And because people didn't tend to bath very often or change their clothes very often, they would have these little fantastic little gadgets that they would put a piece of meat in it, so it'd open, very squeaky. There would a piece of meat would go inside. That would be worn on your person, and it would encourage the fleas in your attire, your clothing, your body fleas, your lice to go in to eat the blood. And they'd get nice and big and fat and couldn't get back out the hole again. So you'd then take it home, open it up, get rid of your fleas. There you go. Sweet capture.
It's the flea catcher, y'all. So,
It's just what we need these days, a flea catcher. So yeah, that is, I think you can, I mean, I picked this up for next to nothing in an antique centre. But again, they're used as pomander. Some people use them for putting pins in. But I remember coming across it because there was one with the holes in, and someone said, surely you can't, it's a needle case for sewing. No, you don't put needles or things in this. Something else goes in there. So there you go.
so if y'all come across that, Miss Pamela, shut up. Are you serious? Yeah, she's serious, Miss Pamela. So if you come across one, don't think it's a pomander. Think of it as a flea catcher for your fleas. And they get so fat they can't come out. So there you go. You don't have to bath again. Y'all save water. I mean, she showed me that, and I was like, I'm sorry. It sounded like you said flea catcher. And she said, oh, no, I did.
Don't forget, I've got to put a piece of meat in there, though, to entice the fleas out.
So, what do you think, apart from flea catchers, what's the next big thing in homewares do you think is going to be like, it's going to be sought after in homewares? Now, the difference between us here in the UK and people in the US is our houses here are smaller.
Yes.
Because I find a lot of great furniture, and I'm like, well, where the heck am I going to put that? Because my house is this big, you know? So, in homeware terms, what do you think, apart from furniture, what do you think like the next big trend will be in vintage homewares?
Well, that's a difficult one because China is always collectible. Ceramics, always. Again, there seems to be no end to that. Glass, less so. Although I've recently come across some beautiful, I think you'll know about it, the cranberry ware, glassware, which is phenomenal. It's beautiful red, deep red, pink colour, and you can get them for next to nothing, and you can find them for a few pound up to a lot. There's also beautiful kind of glass that you can get, which is a German glass. It's a white, and it has birds on it, but the birds are surrounded by like a pink colour. So if you spot those, they're worth picking up now and hanging on to for a little while, because again, it does go round. There's different trends in vintage, and it comes and goes with different things. I mean, recently I've started looking at 1940s ceramics. And again, if you're a reenactor or you've got a 1940s house, you will want to try and collect those pieces, but even right down to things like picture frames, handmade picture frames, or Art Deco bookends. All of these things are small little objects, but very, very sort of very niche at the moment.
So I got this from you, remember?
I'm a bit of a collector of those as well. Yes. If I see one of those. Yeah.
I got that from you.
With those, I again, a recent thing, because things like linens, table linens, anything to do with hand stitched embroidered pieces, cross stitching, carpet pieces, or hooking, get them together and recycle them. A lot of people have them on the walls, but you can reupholster chairs with them. Get hold of some vintage fabric, get hold of that cross stitch, patchwork them together and for a little sort of footstool or a little chair or something like that, and reuse it that way. Make bags out of them. Anything other than cover books with them. Just don't let them, go to waste. They need to be reused. They've took hours and hours of time and lots of love. They need to be, reused again.
So Julie says, I wish China and porcelain would catch on more here. Is it not popular there? Because I think it's popular here. It's popular depending on who the maker is.
Right. What's that? Sorry, which?
She said that that she wishes China and porcelain would catch on more here. Oh, Julie, I believe, is in Canada.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've shipped things out, but I don't tend to get a lot of. No, not to Canada. It seems to be at the moment going to, like I say earlier, places that like Singapore, we'd get a lot of people in Singapore who collect it.
Yeah.
And there's always people here who, but again, if you do come over and you visit and you see a really lovely piece of china that you know want to take back, just grab it and sit and drink a nice cup of tea or just look at it.
So Beth wants to know, have you ever traveled to the US?
I've not been to the US. I technically I did. I was in an airport in the US. I flew over to Canada. I went to Saskatchewan. A friend was over in Canada, and I had a brief stopover in America. But I've always wanted to go. When I was a student, and the biggest thing for a textiles designer was to go to New York, and that was always going to be my one go-to place I wanted to go, was to New York, just to go and have a look at the architecture, look at all the museums and the galleries there. But I've not got around to doing it just yet. Maybe one day.
Well, everybody in the chat, I'm sure, would let you come stay with them. Now,
Brilliant.
they're all different states. You got Texas, you got Alabama, you got Canada, you've got, I don't know, you've got Florida, you got a lot of places to stay when you go. Because they would love you. And I remember seeing a comment back where Beth said she feels like she should curtsy when she meets you. Okay.
Not at all. Honestly, you don't need to do that. I'm not really late.
I do it every time I see her. So yeah, you all have to do it. No. So so yeah, I think this is just my opinion. I think vintage housewares that are useful. Do you know what I mean? It's fine to have decorative stuff, which I do have behind me. But I think vintage stuff that you can still use, like either in the kitchen or it's practical. I think that's
kitchen
a big
area.
trend.
I mean, yesterday I went out and I actually did a house visit and got some bits of KitchenAid, little pastry tins, and also I think the best thing is the hand whisk. People still use it now. It's the best. If you just haven't got time to cleaning up loads of bowls and everything, just have a little hand whisk, the old-fashioned one. Double whisk, they are fantastic. They're brilliant.
And when will you be having those in your shop? No.
I have got them. They will be coming out very soon. They will be going on my online vintage Lady Peacock finds. So yes, at some point they will be coming out and be on Facebook eventually. I just need to work my way through all the items I've recently been collecting. So
she's on Facebook, and she's Lady Peacock Vintage Headquarters, but she also has another page. And if I can go back in this video, I'll put that in this video. I'll put in the description. I'll put your link there, and it's Lady Peacock's Vintage Finds. And even, I mean, will she ship to the U.S.? I don't know. You got to ask her. Private messenger. She'll let you know. But
yeah,
she's got. I mean, her shop. You guys, you've seen me go in there, and oh yeah, ooh, we do need to go, Jessica. Find a Saturday we can go to her shop. Yes, because I love going in there. I absolutely love it. And Lady Peacock is quite aware I'm a reseller. She's gonna know. I mean, now some of the stuff I keep for myself, but but I do. She knows. Here's the thing, and this is what you told me when I told you I resell. You said, "Hey, I'm making money. You're making money, and someone's getting what they want." And that's the kind of that's kind of attitude to have. I mean, resellers will buy from each other and resell. Do you know what I mean? Even so, it's if everybody's winning, that's how it should be, really.
That's it. And the main thing is it's going to the right place, and it'll always go to the right home where it's meant to go. So whether I directly sell to someone else or to you and you find a home for it, we're all in that kind of group together to be able to make sure that it finds the right new owner. So that's it. That's what it's all about.
And even Sarah at Fusion Inspire Antiques, which I did a video on, you guys, she's aware that I'm a reseller, and she's fine. She's like, yeah, here you go, and it's all about one, helping each other out, and two, relocating these items to the place they need to be.
That's it. Yeah, and we're all part of that. Maybe it's destiny. It was meant to be.
Yeah, it is. It's and the thing is, we're saving one, we're recycling, so yay us. Two, we're finding these places homes, whether it be here in the UK, whether it be in Canada or the US or wherever. These places are getting new homes, and they're going to people who appreciate them. They're, like you said, they're not
Exactly.
ending up in a landfill or, you know, wherever. And it keeps these, you know, these stories of these things have stories. And even if you don't know the story, you're keeping that story alive somehow by passing that on.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, again, I refer back to kind of like Mexican Day of the Dead. You know, if you keep thinking of those people in the afterlife, then
Yeah.
their story goes on, you know, to the land of the remembered. And I think these items as well are doing the same thing. You are taking it from, you know, being in some cases thrown away and actually then passing it on to have a new life. And some of the items that we find, they were meant to last. They were meant to kind of have that sustainability. And that's what it is about, being that eco warrior of saving those items, finding the right place, repairing them, reusing them, finding a new purpose for them, even if it's not the original purpose they were meant to be. Just finding a way for things not to be just a thrown away society. And if we can do our bit, you know, go and help out the charity shops, go and buy stuff from charity, go and buy it from thrift stores, go and buy it from vintage. It means it's still within its locality, or it's going outwardly and being used, and that's got to be a good thing, surely.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a couple of one thing. Someone asked, do you have a eBay or Etsy store?
I don't have eBay or Etsy at the moment, but I am working on it. We've recently just realised after the lockdown, I love the one-to-one selling in the shop and meeting people and talking to them, but I've realised now I have to kind of join the world of the wide web. It's going to happen ultimately. I've been holding on for dear life for such a long time, and I'm like, I've got to do it. It's got to be done. So yeah, we're working on it. We're working on a new page, a website, and also again, just selling through Instagram or marketplace with Facebook. But yeah, it's time. I've got to join the modern world, even though I'd love to stay in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, you know, but it's such a, it's like you, I have to say, to be fair, during lockdown, you came through for a lot of people when you started selling on Facebook. And thank God I got back on Facebook for a hot minute, because that's the only way we could source, you know. And some of the things I got from you, and I know Jessica got some stuff from you, and we were so happy just to be able to go, oh, we got stuff, you know, and good stuff. We got good stuff from you. So, so do you do live sales on Facebook? Now, I don't know if you do live sales on Facebook.
I do events on there. So like the last one we did was where we had a homewares and bricker. We were doing, I did a jewellery sale at one point as well, and we've done clothing. And really, it was just a case of just to kind of say as well, we're still here, we're still fighting, we're still trying to, you know, make our way in there, and we haven't disappeared. So, I mean, the auction seems to be doing like little online auctions seems to be the way forward. So that's kind of something I would love to do, like a starting price, and then let everybody just fight it out.
Let it just go. Well, I think I told you this. Over here, or in the US, they have sales on YouTube. So me and you, for instance, let's say if we had a live sale, you would bring your items, I'd bring my items. I would say, okay, this item is 16 pounds, number 4. And the first person to type a number 4 in would win it. The thing is that I personally, on my page, don't have enough British viewers to do that. And I mean, and when you asked other resellers on Instagram, other vintage UK vintage resellers, they're like, "Is that a thing?" They didn't even know it was a thing. So, and as far as I can tell, it is allowed here in the UK. I just doesn't, that people just don't do it.
Yeah.
Resellers here don't do it. I don't know why. There's also a different attitude about it here than in the States. You know what I'm saying?
You obviously introduced that to me and sort of talked to me about it, and that's something that we've never, you know, that's something I've never actually done here. But yeah, that sounds quite an interesting thing to pursue, really, for the future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we might do a lot of stuff.
Maybe we pair up together and kind of have a bit of a little show going on, and
Oh, I would
get
100%
some
do that.
things.
Yeah. We would just put our email, like, where it says our names, where it says Lady Peacock and Miss Damn Jewelry. We would put our email so people could email us all their information, then we invoice them on PayPal, and then we ship out, the shipping. And yeah.
Yeah,
So,
sounds great.
hey, maybe that's something we'll look into that, you guys. We'll look into that.
Absolutely.
So that would be great. Well, guys, we're at an hour. I'm going to go ahead and let Lady Peacock get on with her evening because it is 8:30 p.m. here in the UK. And I want to thank you so much for coming. Everybody loved you. You're so amazing. You look amazing. We're also happy that you stopped by. And I really appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for coming in the chat and asking all these wonderful wait, I'm on the way. I can buy clothes there. Hey, okay, girl, I'll talk to you later. So I appreciate you stopping by, taking your time out of your busy schedule because you work full time and then you have your shop on Saturday, and then you'll be doing everything online too. So everybody look out for the Instagram. I will share it with you when because you have one now, but it's not really, you don't really do a lot on the Instagram, do you?
Don't really use a lot, but again, that's something that we're going to start developing a little bit more and put some items on there. I just need to get the camera out and crack on.
And it's having the time to do, you know what I mean? It's having the time to do it with, working. But anyway, guys, I'm so glad you guys stopped by. Thanks so much. And I appreciate everybody. You guys take care and have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.